Millionaire risks it all to rescue orphan girl left on the road by her cruel stepmom. The city of New Haven pulsed with restless energy that night. Headlights sweeping the slick streets, distant sirens blaring, and the murmur of late-night traffic blending with whispered secrets in dark alleys. Ethan Voss, the ruthless titan of skyscrapers and boardrooms, maneuvered his sleek black SUV through the chaos, like a shark cutting through water. His jaw was tight, eyes sharp, but beneath that polished armor, a storm raged, a shadow from his past clawing at his mind. Then, out of nowhere, a trembling, tiny figure huddled by the curb. A girl, maybe 9 or 10. Her clothes were torn and soaked from the rain, and her eyes darted wildly, as if hunted by something darker than the night itself. Ethan slammed on the brakes. Everyone in the car behind swerved, honking and yelling, but Ethan didn't care. She was frozen, shaking like a leaf in a harsh wind. The streetlight flickered, casting her. He saw himself. A scared kid, abandoned and lost. Without thinking twice, Ethan opened his door and crossed the street. Traffic blurred past him, but all he could hear was her ragged breathing. "Hey," he said gently, kneeling. "Are you okay?" She flinched, pulling back, but her lips trembled. "My stepmom. She left me, said I was no good." Ethan swallowed hard. Those words hit him like a punch in the gut. The smell of wet leaves and exhaust filled the air. Somewhere behind the shadows, a car engine roared to life, lurking, watching. "Come with me," Ethan urged, offering his hand. Hesitantly, she reached out, and when she did, something electric flashed, a secret buried in her touch. As they walked toward the safety of his car, Ethan's mind raced. His past wasn't just a ghost, it was a cage. And now, with Mia clinging beside him, that cage was shaking. He was about to tear it open, but at what cost? Inside the car, Mia's hands trembled, trembling so hard Ethan imagined he could hear her heartbeat hammering through her ribcage. He noticed a small locket around her neck, old, tarnished, but strangely ornate. He reached in to touch it, and a sudden chill ran up his spine. "Where is your family?" Ethan asked, eyes scanning her face for any crack in her fragile mask. She hesitated, then whispered, "They want me gone. It's not just my stepmom. There's more dark things." The night deepened and danger crept closer. Ethan felt eyes burning into the back of his neck. Shadows stretched like claws. Minutes later, parked under a flickering streetlight, Ethan's phone buzzed violently. A message flashed on the screen, blinding and cold. "You took what doesn't belong to you, Ethan. Let her go or pay the price." His hands shot to the steering wheel, grip white-knuckled. The car felt suddenly suffocating. Mia looked at him, fear and something like steel in her small eyes. This wasn't just about saving a scared girl anymore. Ethan was pulled into something much bigger, the secret that could shatter the ruthless empire he had built, and drag them both into a darkness neither was prepared for. The city roared outside, but inside the car, a silent war had begun. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. And while you're there, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, And tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love meeting all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. The city roared outside, but inside the car, a silent war had begun. Ethan felt the weight of that message pressed down on him, a fog of uncertainty creeping into his mind. Mia's small frame was a fortress of fear, her wide eyes scanning for threats he couldn't see. He had to protect her, but he had no idea what they were really up against. "Who sent that message?" he asked, his V. "I don't know," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the sound of the engine. "But they're coming for you." "Me?" Ethan frowned, confusion flashing across his face. The night turned colder, the shadows growing longer outside the car. "What are you talking about, Mia?" Suddenly, the car jolted. A loud thud hit the rear bumper. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He twisted the keys in the ignition. "Get down!" he shouted, ducking as he slammed on the gas. The engine roared to life, tearing them away from danger. But the shadows clung to them, relentless. "Ethan!" Mia cried, panic flooding her voice. "Look!" He followed her gaze. A dark figure stood in the road, a silhouette against the flashing lights. He swerved, narrowly missing the person, but the figure didn't flinch. It was as if they were daring him to make a move. "Who the hell is that?" Ethan gasped, gripping the wheel tighter. "I don't know, but it's not just a person," Mia whispered, trembling. "There's something wrong with them. You have to." Her words trailed off as the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face lined with scars and eyes that glinted like shards of glass. Ethan's breath hitched. It was someone he recognized, someone from his distant past, a childhood friend named Alex, lost to the dark memories he had buried. "Mia, stay close," Ethan barked, panic rising. He couldn't let the past catch up to him now. But Alex's voice cut through the chaos, calm and unsettling. "Ethan, you think you can run from it? You brought her here. She's part of the game now." The car felt too small, packed with memories and unvoiced fears. "What game?" Ethan demanded, the urgency clamoring in his chest. "They know you're weak." Alex's smile was chilling. "It will consume you both. Blood ties matter more than you know." Ethan's thoughts twisted. Blood ties? What did that mean? Before he could ponder, Alex raised a hand. A flash of light, blinding and bright, exploded through the windshield, lighting up the dark inside the car. Ethan shielded his eyes, and in that split second, everything changed. Mia gasped, her locket catching the light, and suddenly it burst open, revealing a photograph tucked inside. Ethan blinked, struggling to see. His heart stopped. "It can't be." "No." He leaned closer, astonished. The image was distorted by shadows, but he recognized the faces. They were the same as his, twisted by time, a link he had never known existed. "Mia," he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "Who are you?" Mia's eyes filled with tears, a deep sadness wrapping around her small frame. You're my uncle." The shock struck harder than any blow. The threads of his world unraveled. Ethan gripped the wheel, fighting to breathe. The city faded into the background as he faced a truth that shattered everything he thought he knew. And from the shadows beyond, Alex's laughter echoed, a sinister promise that neither of them could escape. Mia's eyes were wide, glistening with tears that threatened to spill. You're my uncle!" The words hung in the air like a bitter fog, chilling Ethan to his core. His heart raced, but a deeper panic gnawed at him. There was no way. He had nobody left. No family, no connections. How could this little girl be his blood? Mia's expression twisted in fear. "They're coming for us, Ethan. You have to believe me." But as he tried to comprehend what she said, the shadows gathered closer, and Alex's laughter resonated like a haunting echo. "Uncle Ethan," he mocked, his scarred face a mask of delight. "Family ties run deep, don't they? You should have let her go." Ethan felt the weight of the night pressing in. It was suffocating him. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All he wanted was to protect Mia, this girl who claimed to be part of him. But before he could respond, the hood of the SUV suddenly bucked, metal twisting under pressure. "What the?" Ethan gasped, as the world outside exploded with chaos. A monstrous truck barreled toward them, its headlights like a spotlight in the dark, hinting at an approaching doom. He slammed the gas pedal, but the truck didn't swerve. "Run!" Mia screamed, her voice slicing through the thickening dread. As Ethan spun the wheel, the truck collided with the back of the SUV, sending them spiraling into the rough pavement. A deafening crunch filled the air. Glass shattered around them like 1,000 fireflies dying in an instant. Ethan's heart pounded. "Mia, are you okay?" He turned, fear clawing at his throat. She was frozen, eyes wide, her small hands clenching the seat. "Mia, please!" He shook her, panic coursing through him. Suddenly, her body went limp, and a cold wave of terror swept through him. "No, no!" Before he could react, the door flew open, and a figure lurched toward them from the debris, dark and imposing. It was a woman, her face hidden under a hood, but her presence oozed an unsettling force. "You're not safe, Ethan," she bellowed, her voice a raspy whisper, bitter and dark. "They're coming for you both." "Who are you?" His voice trembled, every instinct screaming to flee. "Mia!" the woman cried, the urgency in her voice ripping through the air. "You don't know the truth about your powers. You're more than just an orphan. They want to use you." Ethan drew back. Powers? What was she talking about? But before he could wrestle with the words, Alex's mocking tone rang again. "You think freedom comes easy? You're both part of a legacy, an ancient bloodline, unstopped." The overwhelming sense of dread merged with confusion. This was impossible. Mia was just a little girl left behind, not some powerful heir to a secret world Ethan couldn't even grasp. "Mia, tell me the truth. What does she mean?" His voice came out sharp, desperate, and then, in a heartbeat, everything changed. The hooded woman stepped closer, her hands outstretched. Gold light flickered at her fingertips. "You don't know. You have a choice. You can join the fight, end this cycle of pain, or let them take her." Ethan's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. "Mia, are you really?" But just as he choked on the words, the ground trembled. The truck that had hit them erupted in flames, and from its ashes, a strange mist began to rise, swirling and coiling around them. Ethan felt the pull of darkness tightening around his chest. Everything swirled. Mia, the woman, the truth he didn't want to face. The shadows stretched out, as if they were alive, reaching for him, wrapping him in an embrace of despair. And then, the darkness lost its grip. The mist coalesced, forming a tiny figure stepping out, a child with familiar features, ethereal and fragile, both there and not. "Ethan, help me," the figure whispered. A mirror of Mia, only younger, more innocent, his heart shattered. Who was this? A ghost from the past? Or a glimpse of a future that held only more pain? "Mia, what's happening?" he shouted, confusion mixing with fear. The stakes had never been higher, and yet the truth lay just out of reach, blurred in the shadows swirling around them. With his blood running cold, Ethan realized that each choice might unravel them further into the chaos. But one thing was clear. They were deeper in this than he had ever imagined, and he had to find a way to break free before it consumed them both. What was the next move? And would they survive long enough to uncover their entwined destiny? The child's ghost shimmered, its pleading eyes a mirror of fear mingling with innocence. And Ethan's heart sank. The echoes of her voice hung in the air, tugging at long-buried emotions. "Help me." The pressure thickened. The hooded woman took a step closer, gold light flickering like a warning. "Ethan, you don't understand. Mia is a beacon. They will stop at nothing to claim her." Mia's small frame shook, her disbelief making her tears flow freely. "What do you mean? Who are they?" But before the woman could respond, another shudder shook the ground beneath them. The air grew electric, and in an instant, the world changed. The blinding light surrounded them. Ethan squinted, despair clawing at him. The shadows receded, and suddenly an entire crowd appeared from nowhere. Faces he recognized. Faces he thought were lost to time. His parents. What's happening?" Ethan stammered, eyes wide as memories flooded back. They stood together, unscathed, bathed in the glow of that otherworldly light. "You shouldn't be here!" But there they were, right in front of him. His mother smiled, a gentle, warm smile, and for a moment, everything felt normal. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice a soothing lull, "it's time to remember." Mia blinked in confusion, glancing between Ethan and the figures, the truth swirling in the air like smoke. "What do you mean? They're not real, are they?" Ethan's voice shook. "You're not a ghost. How is this possible?" His father stepped forward, reaching out. "Son, you've been burdened with our choices. This is bigger than you know." The shadows twisted. Alex's form flickered within the crowd, merging with figures that seemed to shudder with hidden truths. "You think you can trust them?" His laugh chilled the air. But then, something unsettling happened. A figure broke from the crowd. His mother's face shifted, melted into the hooded woman standing before them. "Mia is the key to everything," she voiced, her tone dripping with malevolence. "And if you don't choose wisely, her fate will seal yours." Ethan's heart raced, the walls closing in. His mother's eyes, glistening with genuine concern, were now tinged with a sinister spark. "You will have to make a sacrifice, Ethan." "No!" he shouted, stepping back. "You're not my parents. You're just illusions." "Mia needs you," they said, voices in unison now, hauntingly familiar, yet twisted. "Your blood binds you. You can save her, or be lost forever." Mia's sob broke through the chaos. "Ethan, please, I can't." The ground trembled again, a low growl reverberating through Ethan's bones. And then before his eyes, the air shuddered. An infernal portal ripped open, consuming figures in darkness. The startled crowd began to scream. His friends, his past. "Mia!" Ethan lunged forward, trying to grab her hand. But shadows swallowed her up, pulling her into the abyss. "Mia!" he screamed again, his voice raw with desperation. But the portal closed in on itself, swirling with chaos. a noise drowning him. The last image burned in his mind, a single tear rolling down Mia's cheek before she vanished. He turned back to the figures, now a twisted mass of derision. "You lied! You used me!" "Your choice will haunt you," they echoed, melting into shadows, the ground quaking beneath Ethan's feet. And then all fell silent. The world around him darkened, the echo of Mia's absence stinging his heart. Alone in the void, Ethan realized Tom's warning was true. Fate wouldn't let go easily. What had he unleashed? What truth lay in the choices he hadn't dared to see? The night was far from over, and Ethan stood at the edge of a dark precipice, wondering if he had just lost everything important, or if it had all just begun. Ethan stood at the edge of the abyss, haunted by Mia's sudden disappearance, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The silence was deafening, the weight of the shadows pressing down on him like a thick fog. He forced himself to focus, to fight against the chaos swirling inside of him. But the void only deepened, and all he could think was, what was the truth? And then, as if summoned by his desperation, the ground shuddered once more. Not just a tremor, it was a violent quake. Ethan stumbled, his heart racing with dread. Shadows began collapsing inward. Swirl. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the ground. It pierced through the darkness, illuminating everything in a white-hot glow. Ethan shielded his eyes instinctively, and when he squinted, he saw figures emerging from the light. They were not the twisted forms of his past, but familiar silhouettes he recognized all too well. "Mom! Dad!" The words escaped him, disbelief replacing his horror. How could they be here? "Ethan, listen! You have to wake up!" his mother cried, reaching for him across the shimmering expanse. But just as he stepped forward, the ground split open beneath her. A scream erupted from her lips, one that echoed through Ethan's soul. "No!" he yelled, lunging toward her, but it was too late. Darkness engulfed her, swallowing her whole. The light flickered, then vanished, leaving Ethan gasping, stunned by the sudden loss. "Your choices," came a whisper from the shadows, chilling and haunting. It was Alex's voice, but it sounded different now, ringing with a sinister authority. "They have consequences, Ethan." "Shut up!" Ethan shouted back, fury boiling inside him. "You don't understand what I've been through." "What's happening?" In that moment, he felt a sudden warmth at his side. He glanced down and saw Mia's locket glowing faintly, swirling with a light that echoed the one before. "Is it you, Mia?" he breathed, his heart pounding louder than ever. But then the locket exploded in a brilliant flash, scattering shards of light everywhere. It was beautiful, chaotic, and terrifying all at once. When the light faded, Ethan stood in a new place, an ethereal realm filled with swirling clouds and echoes of laughter. But there was also a heavy darkness lurking at the edges. "You shouldn't be here," a voice broke through, startling him. It was Mia, but older, her presence more commanding. "Ethan, you need to listen to me." "Mia, what happened to you?" His pulse raced, realization hitting him like a freight train. "How are you? It doesn't matter now. You're in danger," she interrupted, urgency pouring from her every word. "You need to know the truth." Then, the world shifted again, swirling with energy. Shapes began forming from the edges of the dark, figures that Ethan recognized all too well. Family members, old friends, even long-lost acquaintance connected to his past, started stepping forward, but with one striking difference. Their faces were twisted, haunted, revealing depths of deception that chilled him to the bone. "Mia," I faltered, overwhelmed by the reality of seeing what should have been a reunion turn grotesque. They knew. Everyone knew. I wasn't just an orphan. They were part of a bigger plan. Mia's voice trembled, a mix of anger and pain. Ethan's stomach tightened. "What plan? What are you saying?" And then it hit him. The final blow. One figure in the crowd stepped forward, and he froze. A woman with a familiar scar across her cheek. It was his mother, but not the one who had vanished. This one looked too similar, too sinister. "Your family never wanted you dead, Ethan. They needed you alive for this." Betrayal coursed through him. "What do you mean?" "The bloodline is powerful," the woman said, her voice dripping with malice. "You were chosen for a reason, and Mia was the key all along." Ethan staggered back, his whole world flipping upside down. "No, it can't be." Tears blurred his vision as he tried to process it all. "You're lying." "Am I?" she snapped, a wicked smile forming. "Welcome to the family curse." Suddenly, the ethereal realm cracked and shadows surged forth, pulling everyone back into the void. Panic surged through Ethan as he glanced at Mia, who stood frozen in a mix of fear and confusion. As the darkness closed in, he shouted, "Mia, we can break this, together!" But before he could reach her, everything erupted into chaos, and he was swallowed by shadows again. The painful truth unraveling in his mind. Was this the end, or just the beginning of the nightmare? Ethan was engulfed in shadows, the suffocating darkness around him a chaotic storm of fears and regrets. He reached desperately for Mia, the thought of losing her wrapping around his heart like a vice. But before his fingertips could brush against her ghostly form, the world collapsed into a blinding flash of light. For a moment, Ethan felt weightless, like he was floating in a sea of stars. And just as suddenly, the light sliced away the dark, dropping him back onto solid ground, still reeling. But where was Mia? Panic surged through him. The spectral figures were gone, leaving him alone, surrounded by an eerie silence that felt heavy and tangible. "Lies, all of it," he muttered, a bitter taste in his mouth. But he wasn't done fighting. "Mia!" he shouted into the void, his voice echoing back like a desperate plea. Then, unexpectedly, the ground beneath him shimmered, glowing with an unfamiliar warmth. Ethan stepped back, confusion etched on his face, when suddenly a familiar figure erupted from the light. Mia? His heart raced, but it wasn't Mia. It was the hooded woman from before, emerging with an aura of frenetic energy. "You're the key, Ethan," she exclaimed, the urgency spilling from her like water from a broken dam. "What do you mean? Where is Mia?" She shook her head, dark hair framing her face. "She's hidden from you for now, but it's not just the darkness you have to worry about." Before she could finish, the ground trembled violently again. This time, the darkness fought back. Shadows lashed out, creeping up his legs, swirling around him like angry serpents. The woman raised her hands, and a surge of light radiated from her palms, pushing the shadows away. "They want to control you," she shouted, desperation lacing her voice. "It's time you learn the truth about your past." "What are you talking about? Just tell me!" Anger coursed through Ethan, fueling him. They aren't who you think, she spit out, her eyes wild. Your family is part of something much darker. They're not just after Mia. They want your power. Power? I don't understand. His voice cracked, ice-cold dread creeping in. He's lying. A second figure flickered into view beside the hooded woman, an older man with familiar features. Ethan's breath caught. "Dad?" he whispered, unable to believe what he saw. The man nodded solemnly. "You're not just a Voss, son. You're the last of an ancient lineage. Your blood can either seal the fate of this world or save it." The words echoed in his mind. But what about Mia? Is she part of this too? She is, the older man replied, sadness sweeping over his face. Then what does that make me? A pawn in their game? The betrayal stung fresh, like a knife twisted deep. "No, Ethan," the hooded woman interjected. "You have a choice, and it rests on your shoulders." Suddenly, a fierce wind whipped through the space, lifting shadows and light alike as a rumble filled the air, signaling a larger threat looming beyond. A terrifying realization washed over Ethan. "What do you mean, a choice?" "What choice?" He felt the ground shift beneath him, as if anticipating something to come. "Choose, Ethan," the older man shouted, his voice slicing through the tumult. "But know this, what you decide will save either the world or destroy it," he warned, his gaze piercing. "It all hinges on." But then, everything stopped. Time snapped. The world held its breath, and the boy in the middle felt something crack and shift deep within him. With the sudden opening of a portal, Ethan felt shock flood through him as more specters surged forth. The faces of his parents mixed with Alex's, their expressions twisted, revealing grim truths buried underneath. And then the unexpected happened. The older man, who had just moments ago looked like his father, transformed before Ethan's eyes, skin bubbling and darkening. "I'm not your father. I'm a keeper of the darkness," he hissed, revealing a sickening, toothy grin. "You've been chosen, Ethan," the hooded woman cried. "And now you'll either." The swirl of confusion mixed with clarity, the lines of right and wrong blurring like smoke in a windstorm. All hope felt lost, and yet a new fire ignited within him. Who could he trust? The last thing Ethan saw before the shadows lunged was the haunted look on Mia's face, somewhere lost among it all. "You have to remember me," she screamed, the sound piercing like shards of glass into his soul. And just like that, the world slipped away again. Now alone in overwhelming darkness, a single question reverberated in Ethan's mind. Was he really destined to save anyone? Or was this just the beginning of a nightmare that would consume them all? Ethan stood in the suffocating darkness, the shadows inching closer, wrapping around him like a suffocating blanket. His heart raced as he breathed in the stale air, filled with desperation. "Mia!" he shouted into the abyss, but there was only silence, deep and haunting. Then, a sudden roar echoed from the depths of the darkness. Something. He clenched his fists, ready to face whatever was coming. Without warning, the shadows split apart, revealing a swirling portal of blinding light and chaos. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the brilliance, moving toward him with an unnatural speed. Ethan's instincts screamed for him to run, but his feet felt cemented to the ground. "Ethan!" It was Mia's voice, unmistakable, laced with urgency. But when the figure stepped into the light, it wasn't Mia at all. Confusion washed over him as he stared at a woman he never expected to see again, his long-lost mother. "What?" he gasped, disbelief crashing over him like a wave. "Mom?" She looked different, older, wearier, but unmistakably her. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of defiance and warmth. "Ethan, we don't have much time. Where have you been?" Shock and anger twisted inside him. "You disappeared. You left us." "No, Ethan. I was taken to protect you from this." Her voice trembled with urgency. "The truth about our family, about the darkness, is more dangerous than you know. Mia is part of it. You have to believe me." "But Mia is not just part of it." He fought to keep his anger in check, overwhelmed by the swirl of emotions. "She's innocent." She shot back, her intensity piercing. "You don't know everything, Ethan. You have to listen." Before he could respond, a terrible groan erupted from the portal. An ungodly creature began to emerge, thrashing against the fabric of reality, ready to shatter the remnants of their world. With each lurch, the air grew heavy, ripe with dread. "Mom, what is that?" I don't know, but it wants you." Just as the creature lunged, a blinding flash erupted from Mia's locket, the gold light enveloping them in a protective glow. Ethan felt the warmth wash over him, soothing and reassuring. Then, the unexpected happened. The light burst forth with a force unlike anything he had ever experienced. The creature howled, recoiling from the brightness, and in that moment, Mia's figure materialized beside him, her presence grounding him. "Together, Ethan!" she cried, gripping his hand tightly. But then everything shifted again. A piercing scream erupted from Ethan's mother. "No, not her!" "Mom!" Ethan shouted, horror twisting in his gut. Before their eyes, the creature seized Mia, dark tendrils wrapping around her body, pulling her back into the shadows. "Mia!" he screamed, desperation spilling from every pore. And then the truly shocking moment came. The creature's form shifted, melting into the familiar features of Alex, a man Ethan had recognized earlier, but didn't want to accept. "It's too late, Ethan. You had your chance." Alex's voice dripped with malice. "Wait, what?" Confusion washed over Ethan. You were never part of this." "The blood ties were all part of the game," he sneered, his tone chilling. "And now, Mia belongs to the darkness." As fear enveloped Ethan, he realized something. What if Mia wasn't just the key? What if she was the darkness? "Mia, trust me!" he shouted, but the shadows swallowed her scream. As the world around him collapsed, Ethan felt everything he thought he knew swing like a pendulum, dropping into an abyss. The question hung in the air like a noose. Had he unwittingly unleashed a power far greater than he could control? Amid the chaos, he caught a fleeting glimpse of something awakening inside the darkness. Something vast, something waiting to be released. It was then that Ethan understood. The fight was only just beginning, and the truth had never been further from reach. What was the cost of his choices? And how deep did the betrayal run? Ethan felt the darkness pulling him back, panic clawing at his insides. He couldn't let it take him. He reached out for Mia, desperately trying to find her in the chaos. "Mia!" but all he heard was the echo of his own voice, swallowed by the void. Just then, his mother's anguished scream cut through the darkness, slicing into his heart. "Ethan, it's not over. You have to fight it." But even her words were drowned out by the rumble of the creature, a monstrous figure rearing back, dripping with shadows that writhed like living tendrils. Ethan's heart raced, a wave of icy fear coursing through him. This was the moment everything would change. "Mia!" he roared again, summoning every ounce of strength he had left. But suddenly, the world around him cracked like glass. The creature lunged, a maw of darkness, ready to consume everything, and in that instant, reality shifted. The chaos exploded into a blinding light. Ethan found himself standing in a massive hall, marble columns stretching endlessly, illuminated by chandeliers that seemed to flicker with their own light. Confusion washed over him. Where was the darkness? Where was the monster? Then, like a thunderclap, the truth unfolded before him. "Ethan?" Mia stood at the far end of the hall, but she wasn't alone. Next to her was the hooded woman, her face now fully revealed, sharp features framing an intense expression. "Mom?" he stammered, disbelief clawing at him. His mother was here, yet she appeared different, stronger, more resolute. "Mia, are you okay?" he shouted, racing toward her. But the woman stepped forward, holding up a hand. "Stop!" Her voice boomed, echoing through the cavernous space. "Mia!" Ethan's chest tightened with fear. "It's too late, Ethan," Mia said, and her voice was colder, more calculated than he'd ever heard. "I'm not who you think I am." "What do you mean?" The words trembled on his lips. She took a step back, the light shifting in her eyes. "I was never just an orphan. I was sent to find you." "What?" Cold dread seeped into his veins. Sent by who? Suddenly the air around them shimmered, revealing spectral images of their families. Figures of past relatives and ancestors materialized, forming a haunting family tree etched in the air. But the faces twisted into grotesque shapes, mirroring the darkness that loomed just outside the hall. "You can't trust any of them," Mia continued, her voice rising. "They've been watching us, using us." He felt the ground shift beneath him as the revelation crashed over him like a tidal wave. "No, it can't be." "Yes, they wanted us to fight for them, to fight each other. The darkness isn't just a threat, it's our legacy." Mia's words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Ethan's gaze darted among the figures, horror mounting in his chest. Were his parents involved in this? Suddenly, the hooded woman nodded, revealing her face completely. It was a face Ethan had seen in old photographs, memories he fought he buried. "I'm your true mother, Ethan. This is the family secret, the connection you have with Mia. You both are part of this ancient struggle." The weight of her words crashed over him. "No! You're saying I was chosen to be part of this madness? To fight against the darkness?" "Yes." Her urgency surged. "You and Mia must end it together." "Then why have you hidden this from me?" He felt the betrayal twist like a knife. "Because you weren't ready, Ethan. But the moment you took her into your life, everything changed," she shouted, desperation entwining with resolve. "You were awakened." The tension thickened, and Ethan felt his world crumbling. His head spun with confusion. Could it really be true? Were they pawns in a game far grander than he could fathom? "Mia!" he shouted, turning to her, panic bubbling over. "Is it true?" She met his gaze, the look in her eyes both terrifying and electrifying. We have to make a choice, Ethan. Either become the heroes we were meant to be, or let this darkness consume us. Suddenly, the figures around him began to fade, the ground shaking as the hall crumbled. In that very moment, the air crackled, and a raw energy surged between Mia and Ethan, a bond stronger than anything they'd ever felt before. "Together!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. But just before they could act, a dark rift tore open in the center of the hall, pulling everything toward it, the light, the shadows, and their very essence. And then it happened. From the darkness, a blinding flash erupted, and a familiar face emerged among the chaos, tangled within the shadow. It was Alex, but this time he was transformed, his face a mask of sinister delight. "Welcome to the game, Ethan," he laughed, voice dripping with malice. "This is where it all begins, and you'll lose everything." Ethan's heart dropped. His entire reality spun on its axis, and for the first time, he felt true despair. What awaited them on the other side? What were they truly up against? As everything began to spiral into shadow, Ethan realized he had to let go of the past, to seize a future he could still somehow shape. Would he and Mia survive the descent? Who were they destined to become? And as everything faded into darkness, one question loomed large in his mind. Would they be heroes, or just another lost soul in this hellish game? Ethan felt the shadows tugging at him, pulling him into the gaping maw of uncertainty. Panic surged inside him as he fought to stay grounded. He couldn't let them separate him from Mia. "Mia!" he yelled into the dark, the sound of his voice swallowed by the ominous growls echoing around them. The creature, twisted with shadows, lunged forward. Just as it sprang, a wave of light erupted from Mia's locket, wrapping around them and momentarily pushing back the darkness. Ethan felt a surge of hope, but then a chilling laugh pierced through the protective glow, and familiar eyes glinted back at him. Surprised to see me? It was Alex, but not like before. He seemed powerful, more alive, radiating with a dark energy that sent shivers down Ethan's spine. "Alex, what did you do?" Ethan's mind raced. What's happening? The real game is just beginning. Alex's voice, dark and enticing, resonated through the air. "You're all part of my plan now." "Your plan?" Ethan's heart thudded painfully in his chest. The threads of betrayal tightened around him. "You're the one behind this?" Mia, expression shifted, confidence turning to doubt. "Alex, what do you mean?" "Don't listen to him," Ethan shouted. His eyes darted between them. "This isn't right." "Isn't it?" Alex's smile widened, revealing sharp, gleaming teeth. "Everything you fought for is a lie. Mia, she's not just your ally." Suddenly, the portal rippled, drawing their attention. From it emerged echoes of memories, twisted figures, shadows of their families, and all the choices that led to this moment. As if caught in a tempest, Ethan felt reality start to splinter. "Look closer," Alex commanded, gesturing toward the approaching visions. "You think you're fighting for light?" The shadows writhed, and out of them stepped a figure. Ethan's breath hitched. It was a younger version of Mia, lifeless, trapped in a flickering image. "No, I don't understand." He stepped back, horror washing over him. Mia's body began to tremble violently. "What's happening? Why is she here?" She looked at Ethan, eyes wide and searching. "Because it's the truth," Alex hissed. Mia has always been your tether to this darkness. She's the one who brought you in. Stop lying, Ethan roared, clenching his fists. You can't twist the truth. But a deep chill crept into the air as the flickering image of Mia shifted into something darker, more sinister. Do you really think she's been innocently waiting for you? Alex's words dripped with cruelty. She's bound to the shadows, just like all of you. A part of her has always known. Mia, is that true? Ethan's heart felt like it might burst. Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks. Ethan, no! I didn't! I was just trying to survive. Survive? Ethan whispered, pain distorting his voice. By leading me here? By becoming part of this game? Exactly, Alex shouted, stepping closer, menace in his every word. She was meant to be the gatekeeper, a pawn in something far greater. Once you both learned the truth, neither of you would survive. Suddenly, the truth hit Ethan like a freight train. No, he screamed, backing away as Mia's glowing locket dimmed, flickering between light and shadow. The shadows closed in. Ethan felt the ground shake beneath him. You've been plotting this all along? The realization grated against his heart like nails on a chalkboard. With a jolt, the shadows twisted, and Mia collapsed to the ground. Stop! I'm not part of this, she sobbed, panic swelling in the air. Mia! Ethan lunged to catch her, but just as he did, the waves of energy erupted around them, blinding white light, consuming everything. And then he was alone again, standing in an empty void. The echoes of laughter still ringing in his ears. No sign of Mia, no trace of Alex, just emptiness, swirling shadows, and the wreckage of everything he thought he knew. Where are you? He shouted, anguish clawing his throat. Was Mia truly lost? Had he stepped into a trap he could never escape? As fear enveloped him, one brutal truth crashed upon Ethan like a tidal wave. There was more to this darkness than any of them had ever understood. The game was no longer about merely survival. It was about power and betrayal. The question lingered. Who could he trust when the shadows whispered every secret they tried to hide? But darkness pulsed, swallowing Ethan's thoughts as he fought to understand the chaos around him. No, this can't be real, he shouted, barely believing the twisted truth Alex had thrown at him. But as the shadows loomed, he gathered the last remnants of his resolve. Mia! He took a step forward, the familiar warmth of her locket igniting in his hands. A flicker of light emitted from it, cutting through the encroaching darkness. In that moment, he felt their connection, stronger than blood, ignited by courage. Ethan, focus! Mia's voice echoed from somewhere deep within the shadows. You can't let them win. As if fueled by her spirit, Ethan thrust the locket forward. A golden beam burst forth, illuminating the dark realm. Shadows howled. Caught in the shimmering brightness, he emerged from the oppressive darkness, propelled by a newfound determination. Suddenly, a rift opened, revealing Mia's true form glowing with light. You have the power within you, Ethan, she urged, her eyes shining. Together, we can manifest it and break this cycle. Okay, Mia, he breathed, fighting against fear. Let's finish this. They clasped hands, and in that moment, energy surged between them, surging against the shadows, threatening to overpower them. Light pulsated, illuminating the swirling darkness and infusing the air with warmth and hope. Alex screeched, his twisted body retreating from the light as it grew, realizing their bond was stronger than he'd anticipated. No, you fool! You think you can end this. You will regret this. Ethan felt a rush of clarity. No, Alex, you were right about one thing. The choice lies with us. The locket radiated brightly, and Ethan and Mia stood together, invincible against the looming shadows. The light surged forward, carving through the darkness until it splintered and shattered. With a deafening roar, the vast expanse of shadows cracked, splitting away, as Alex's terror-stricken face melted into nothingness. In its place, the light expanded, wrapping around the once twisted figures of their families, pulling them back into clarity. The silence that followed was palpable. The air felt lighter, almost electric. "Is it over?" Ethan whispered, fear still tinged with cautious hope. Mia smiled softly, and in that moment, her light intertwined with his. "We've broken the cycle, but it's up to us to rebuild." Just then, their parents stepped forward, no longer shrouded in the darkness. His mother reached out, tears in her eyes. "Ethan, I'm so proud of you. You're so much stronger than you realize." "Mom," he called, rushing into her embrace. A flood of emotions erupted, a mixture of relief, love, and wistfulness. Mia watched the reunion with a bittersweet smile until her gaze shifted to the untouched horizon. But what happens now? She wondered aloud, a lingering uncertainty in her voice. Ethan drew back from his mother and looked at Mia. "We face the world, together, whatever that looks like." They stood side by side, feeling the shimmering remnants of their past dissipate into the morning glow. As the shadows receded, hope emerged, illuminating a future yet to be crafted. Their journey had led them to a new beginning. But one last thought lingered in Ethan's mind. What other secrets lay hidden in the world? And he would find them, together with Mia. But listen up, friends. You must subscribe now to make sure you don't miss our next wild adventure. Click the like button now to feed the algorithm and show us some love. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think happened next? Don't wait another second to share this. Send this story to at least 5 friends who need to know how it ends. Your support keeps us going.